I always talk of it as like the modern lawyer's desk. We're not trying to now just sell a product to people. We're looking to set up relationships and develop this into the future together. And I think that's been, again, key to why we've had this success. We also understand that, for instance, a lot of lawyers do their work within work. It's just about working together, sharing ideas together, and ultimately, it's only together that we're actually going to create any meaningful change in the market. You're not going to do that individually.
On today's Legally Speaking podcast, I'm delighted to be joined by Chris Williams. Chris is the go-to-market at Leya, a generative AI company building the future of legal services. Chris is also the board of advisors at the Law of Tech. He has experience as residency in legal AI at Antler, director of business development at Simplexico, and revenue lead at Betty Blocks. Chris champions the power of knowledge and the importance of people in driving meaningful change. He is also dedicated to helping lawyers make legal workflow. So, a very warm welcome, Chris.
How you doing?
Good to have you on the show. Been really looking forward to this. Before we dive into all your great projects experiences to date, we do have a customary icebreaker question here on the Legally Speaking podcast, which is, on the scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very real, what would you rate the hit TV series Suits in terms of its reality of the law, if you've seen it?
So, if I had to rate the reality of, or how close to reality Suits is, I think with all those shows, they're never that close to full-blown reality, but I think Suits does a pretty good job of doing that. So I'd probably give it between a 5 to a 6.
There we go, 5 to a 6, fully justified. And with that, we're going to move swiftly on to talk all about you. So to begin with, Chris, would you mind telling our listeners a bit about your background and career journey?
Yeah, sure. I mean, as you mentioned, I've been working in the tech space for quite a while now, but I actually originally come from the financial advisory world, where I got hugely frustrated with the way the services were being delivered towards clients. And subsequently, I tried to build out a platform to enable education and really help people to find their way to financial freedom. Subsequently, that got closed down because I was working for a financial advisory that didn't really like the idea. But at the end of the day, that was what kind of woke me up as to what I wanted to do. And I saw technology being this great enabler of delivering better services. So I moved over from Mauritius to the Netherlands, where I've been based for the last 6 years. And I quite quickly found my way into the low-code application development world. Again, I was coming from that sort of finance space, but we quickly kind of pivoted towards legal work. And I quickly fell in love with the legal tech, legal innovation world. And I've spent the last sort of 5-6 years now really just trying to learn more about legal work, understand the kind of the processes and how innovation works within these organizations. And subsequently, I decided earlier on this year that with the rise of AI, that this was sort of the real game changer that I'd been waiting to see in the market. And I've been spending the majority of this year and a lot of last year learning as much about the technology and now supporting lawyers to adopt it and be successful with it.
Yeah, and I have to say you're doing a tremendous job, and you've also built up a fabulous network along with the knowledge that you've equipped yourself within, particularly legal tech and AI. So let's talk about where you're at currently, because you are the GTM at Leya. So tell us a little bit more about Leya and what your role involves.
Yeah, sure. So Leya is an AI platform that's built to kind of augment, accelerate, and automate various elements of legal work. And what we've done is we've basically taken the latest and greatest language models and found the best way to kind of apply this towards legal work. So we really are focused on supporting our clients on their journey as they bring AI into their organizations and develop a product along with them to really support them in being successful with it. As a product, we see that our clients are having massive efficiency gains. That's really kind of changing the conversation as to how efficiency has been received, particularly within law firms, and it's kind of become a point that has to be addressed. So we as a company are positioned to kind of be the partner for these organizations over the next 5-10 years as we explore how AI is going to affect legal work as the market develops and as these organizations to try and apply their strategies for how they're going to improve their internal work, but also better serve their clients.
Yeah, and I think it's a hugely exciting time. And you touched on it before in terms of, you've been really focusing on AI. What sort of attracted you to Leya and also wanting to double down for a career in AI, specifically within legal?
Yeah, sure. So having been in this kind of known low code world, and the main premise there was like, you're not technical, right? So we needed to lower that barrier. With the rise of AI, that quickly kind of put pressure onto that whole conversation. And you could actually start to talk to a computer and get it to write code for you, for instance. So we as soon as I kind of saw that happening, that gave me this like kind of aha moment of like, this is a technology that's gonna have the impact that I've been wanting to see. So I, as you mentioned, I was at Simplexico. So I pivoted over to Simplexico, where I've got the privilege of working closely with Uwais Iqbal for a while, who's an absolute master when it comes to AI education. And that really allowed me to upskill myself. And then I met the team from Leya. And to be dead honest, I had never ever seen a product within legal that worked like it works, that looked as good as it was from like a UX perspective. And then I was really attracted by the speed in which they were able to develop and iterate on their products. And subsequently, after joining, I think one of the things that's really been important to me is how closely that we work with our clients, and understanding that it's much more of a collaboration than, here's a product for you to buy.
Yeah, I love that. And I always say collaboration is domination, and we talk a lot on the show as well about being as exceptionally client-centric as you can, to really kind of get to the heart of, what's going to be valuable to them and build that trust. And obviously with all of this technology that's coming and new waves, we're going to have more time to hopefully really double down on the client piece. So let's dive a little bit deeper, because I've been curious in watching the Leya journey. I think it's great. So my understanding, and you've kind of touched on this, it's basically founded free up lawyers from a lot of the manual, which we've seen for years and years and years, repetitive tasks. So unlocking that sort of knowledge, improving outcomes, and ultimately increasing productivity. We all want that, but what specific gaps in the legal industry does Leya really want to try and address, or go deeper on some of those points?
Yeah, so if you're looking at like sort of specific gaps, I mean, one of the things that we talk about is like, there's a lot of work that is done by lawyers on a kind of a day-to-day basis, which is not the work that they went to law school to do, right? And it's simple things like filling out a spreadsheet with all this information that they have to go through bucket loads of documents to go find. Our goal is to make it that a lawyer never has to fill in a spreadsheet like that. And it's really getting into the kind of the nitty gritty of how they do that work, to then help them remove that work from their day to day and really focus on providing more kind of strategic, more value, etc. I think that's the key area where I think we as Leya, that's where we aim to kind of fill the gaps. And I think if you talk about the gaps, I think the major gap has been that legal hasn't been served good technology. That's the thing, is like, we've got technology and we've got technology that does what it should do. But if you look at other industries, in legal, we just don't get really, really good technology. And that's the gap that Leya ultimately is filling.
Yeah, no, I think there's a really big opportunity for the legal tech providers that really kind of double down on this to be hugely successful. One of the other things, obviously, with AI that's come in this year and probably over recent years, and we'll see more and more of, is obviously automation. And that can be a huge time save. So, again, touching on it there, but what tasks does Leya automate, if any, and why is this going to be super significant for the future lawyer?
Yeah, so I think when you talk automation, those are tasks that are kind of low volume or low to medium volume and very low risk. So it's that really kind of low level, low hanging fruit stuff that can be truly automated. When we get into the kind of the more complex work, I don't think that AI is at a point where it can be trusted to automate that work autonomously. And I think that's where where the idea of, again, collaboration and working with automation platforms to help to kind of create those 100% deterministic outputs where they are required is a way that we will work. And that's not to say that in a while AI is not going to be at a point where it can do that. Or I mean, if you've seen with Claude and its artifacts, building the applications for you. I mean, I have this vision of I need an automation. I can't trust AI to do the automation, but I can trust AI to build me the solution that can do the automation. So it's I would say that when it comes to automating legal work, it's still very much that kind of low level, low risk, that kind of work. And then if you kind of move up the kind of the volume risk scale, you start to see a lot of work around kind of augmenting legal work or accelerating legal work, or even as simple as allowing a lawyer to have a second brain to kind of fact check themselves or run ideas past things and kind of brainstorm and conceptualize how they're going to deliver that outcome for their clients. That's where I see the greater value of AI in its current form.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think we're seeing that a lot already with firms that are embracing technology. One of the things that I want to talk further around is productivity, because I know this is something that Leya does a super good job of. So, can you share any specific examples of how Leya's boosted productivity for law firms, and maybe what have been some of the tangible benefits of them actually utilizing Leya?
Yeah, sure. I mean, to give you kind of two examples that come to mind is like we've got a client of ours that was doing limited partnership agreements, key terms reports, and that work was taking them about 4 days to complete. Using a couple of our features within Leya, we've been able to help them review those agreements, extract those key terms, and draft up those reports in a matter of hours, as opposed to the days that it was taking. I think it takes, if I'm not mistaken, it takes just over 3 hours to actually complete it now. Another area is where, we have a client which is a smaller law firm, and they were in competition with another large law firm to try to win some client business, and ultimately they just didn't have the resources to compete at that level with the amount of documentation that needed to be reviewed and how long that was all taking. So by supporting them with Leya to really become a lot more efficient in that, they were actually able to compete with this large law firm and ultimately win the business from the client.
Yeah, and I love that, and I talk about this as maybe as an equalizer, in terms of people and organisations that embrace technology, particularly on the automation AI side. You can kind of really go up against some of the the bigger outfits out there and win. And you think you gave a really good example there of that. Let's talk about competition, because I think competition is good. I think it brings out the best in everyone. Leya isn't the only one necessarily in this space. So how does Leya's AI differ from other legal tech solutions currently available, and how does it integrate with tools and workflows already in place at law firms? What makes it unique?
Yeah, so one of the things with Leya is you're creating a platform ultimately to support. I always kind of talk of it as like the modern lawyer's desk, right? Where they can just take all this information and knowledge they have and create these outcomes for their clients. So I think it's very standalone by itself in that sense. But we also understand that, for instance, a lot of lawyers do their work within Word, right? So we integrate well with the Microsoft suite, and we are constantly working to bring the knowledge and the functionality of the platform closer to the lawyers. And one of our kind of the key things is, yes, we're applying these language models to legal work in the best way. So one of the key elements to that is having the right kind of data to do that on top of. And that's where we offer integrations with the likes of your iManagers, and as I mentioned with Microsoft, with your SharePoint, where you can then bring up that knowledge from your DMS, and then function on top of that. And then we also have various partnerships with publishers that have content that's hugely valuable to our clients, and through those partnerships and integrating that knowledge into our platform as a kind of the external third-party knowledge, gives law firms the ability to kind of utilize this technology on top of their knowledge and this external knowledge to really become to get the outputs that they're looking for and get it in a way that's really tailored to their specific need, rather than a kind of a generalist application like you would get through the likes of a ChatGPT.
Yeah, and that kind of leads quite nicely on to large language models, actually, and LLMs. And, obviously you've been diving deep into this. Would love to get how you would, for the novices or people just getting curious, how would you describe or explain what a large language model is and the role that plays specifically within Leya's platform?
Yeah, so a large language model, so maybe to kind of explain it in maybe a slightly different way, as I mentioned, right, it's like this kind of second brain. So the idea behind a language model is how can we map functionality of a brain to provide a computerized brain, right? These models as themselves have been trained on top of language, right? It's on top of text. So they are very good at understanding the context they're given, and then becoming predictive tools to understand what word should come after the last one that it had in the context that it's being given. So that's where I say, like, for instance, having the right knowledge in the platform, all these kind of things is really how you can utilize them in an effective way through a platform like Leya. And I think that when you look at these models, they're evolving so rapidly. The speed at which they're evolving is huge, right? So there's been a lot of talk in the market about like fine-tuning of models. And this is essentially where you are feeding it very specialized knowledge and tailoring it to be much better at predicting the next word within that context. But it's the speed at which the models are developing has almost made that at this current stage a little bit redundant, because as soon as the next model comes out, it's so much more powerful that you kind of almost need to get out the starting blocks all over again.
Today's episode is brought to you by Clio, host of the annual Clio Cloud Conference. Better known as ClioCon, it's the biggest conference in legal and an opportunity that every legal professional should take advantage of. This year, ClioCon is headed to the iconic city of Boston, Massachusetts on October the 16th and 17th. A city steeped in legal history and renowned for its culture of innovation, Boston is the perfect setting for this incredible event. And right now is the perfect time to buy your passes before prices go up at the end of February. Join thousands of legal professionals, thought leaders, and industry experts to network, uncover the latest legal trends, gain groundbreaking insights, and learn practical strategies to elevate your practice. Whether it's mastering marketing techniques, streamlining your workflows, or enhancing client relationships, ClioCon offers actionable insights that make a real difference. Past prices will never be this low again, so act now. Visit ClioCloudConference.com to secure your pass today. Now back to the show.
I think there's a real change of like speed compared to years ago, where you could be a little bit slow and take your time to get. Now, like, there's new things coming thick and fast all the time. Every day that goes by, AI is exponentially better rather than a little bit better. And so that's the speed of play and the state of sort of modern business, particularly in the world of tech and specifically legal tech.
I think if you look at talking about that kind of speed and how it's evolving, I think that's one of the things that excites me the most is, like, no one truly knows where this technology is going to be in the next year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, right? We are literally just scratching the surface of what is possible with this technology. And that's super, super exciting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we'll probably look back on this podcast in years to come and think, "Wow, we'll do it," and where we've got to.
You thought that was what AI could do. Now look at what it does.
Yeah, exactly. I guess to bring a bit of caution or bit of understanding around maybe some of the risks, or people might be thinking, how do you ensure the accuracy of the legal advice generated by AI? Because I'm sure a lot of people will be thinking, this is all well and good, but you've got to be right as the lawyer. You're paid to get it right. So what do you do on the accuracy point of view?
Yeah, so I think accuracy is a very interesting conversation, right? Because again, if you talk about where we're talking about automating work, so that like kind of low risk stuff, or work, then AI can be 100% accurate in a lot of that work. But as you get kind of more complex and more nuanced, the accuracy kind of falls down, right? And we often talk about it as like you're looking at a kind of a first level, second level lawyer, that is, as the head of the partner, you're not necessarily going to just trust that output and not fact check it yourself to make sure that it's in line with what you need. So that's also good to understand with AI. And then in terms of how kind of we address the accuracy, or the buzzword that I'm quite happy has faded off a little bit of like AI hallucinations, is that because we're providing it very specific knowledge that it needs to act upon, we are also always able to make sure that every response is grounded with a citation that refers to that source information. So it allows you to keep, as a lawyer, you're in the loop the whole time. You can verify that information for yourself very quickly. And it also massively decreases the kind of the lack of accuracy when you are grounding it in a specific in specific knowledge, and really getting down to the kind of the granular level.
Yeah, no, and again, thank you for sharing that and giving some really good insight. I want to talk about another topic that I think is important, and that's cash. Funding. Building these products takes money, and that's the truth of it. And not everyone's capable of getting funding, but Leya has been successful, and I think it was around $25 million. So any sort of tips, or from what you've seen within Leya, why you think they've been successful in securing funding, and then what are some of the plans with that funding in terms of improving capabilities in terms of new products or features coming down the track?
Yeah, so we did our last funding round in June, which was a 25 million Series A, and I think we're close to about 14 million in total funds raised, or total revenue venture raised. But I think if you look at what we're doing with that money, right, is we're focused on building product. As you say, we're product centric. We are client centric. So those funds are being basically stored and put aside to increase our engineering, to basically work on and improve the product. And it hasn't been as much as like kind of building out. Yes, I'm GTM, right? But it hasn't been about like building out a big GTM team. And we've kind of taken the approach of the proof is in the pudding. And we can keep building out the product and remain small, tight, very high specialized. I mean, you've seen some of the new recruits that we've been bringing into our team. These are some of the people that I've massively respected in the market for a long time. And it's an absolute privilege to now be able to work alongside them. Previously, I was selling to them, and now I'm working with them, and it's bringing in those right people and spending the money where it matters. I think is our kind of strategy, and I think it's why we've been successful as we have so far. In terms of actually raising the capital and stuff, I think that there's a huge hype around AI and stuff. So it's been one of these spaces where you can raise capital. But I think one of the key things for us is we came about in a time where the market was just looking for something, right? There was a massive need for a solution and ultimately they weren't getting served it. They knew that AI was coming, and they just were not getting the product that they needed. So Leya was able to spend some time working with we spent time working with Mannheimer Swartling to really kind of build out the product, understand that, and then they were able to. So before my time, they were really able to capture a lot of the interest and build up some really awesome clients within the Nordic regions. And through that, it's kind of been this rapid growth, right? And it's been unstoppable. So I think from a raising the funds and getting that done, that's a conversation you can definitely get into with Max. But I think it's key, as you say, to be product centric, be client centric, and be transparent about what we're doing. Right. I think that's also one of the reasons why we're in the position we're in is we're not running around saying AI is the be all end all, right? It's now lawyers are going to be replaced, and AI is this machine that's just going to do everything for us. We've been very pragmatic about it, right? This is where the technology is. We're not trying to now just sell a product to people. We're looking to set up relationships, right, and develop this into the future together. And I think that's been, again, key to why we've had the success we've had, both in clients and in raising capital. Because this is it's not a cheap space to be in. I think we've seen that a lot with certain law firms that started to kind of dip their toes into building out their own tools, but also realize like this takes a lot of money and it's quite hard to justify. So that's where we've been out raising the capital, so that we've got the capital to do it, and that's where we're partnering with them to help them achieve those goals without having to kind of build these tools internally and ultimately go down a rabbit hole that can be extremely expensive.
Yeah, no, well said, and I've seen that as well. I just want to say a couple of points on that. I think what I gained from that is momentum, and I was fortunate to be at the 2024 Clio Cloud Conference, and that was the theme of the year, harnessing momentum. And you were kind of talking there about how Leya's harnessing momentum, and Jack Newton, CEO of Clio, was talking about building a flywheel, if anything, within your organization, and you bring inputs, use AI to keep that kind of energy moving forwards, and the momentum pushes forwards and forwards and forwards. And with each any new feature, any new product, it kind of spurs you on. And I think that's exactly what you're seeing with Leya. And I love that you talk about people. You absolutely have to get the right people in there. I'm kind of describing it as people, product, problem. You're really doubling down on the product, and then really what is the problem you're trying to solve for your clients to be as client-centric as possible. So love all of that, and that's clearly why you've been able to raise and doing a great job. So folks listening in, if they wanted to request a demo of using Leya, what are some of the things that would be included in that demo that they can expect to see?
Yeah, so I mean the key elements of the platform that we're working on right now are the legal assistant. What we have is called tabular review, which is basically spreadsheets for lawyers with no numbers and formulas, just using your words. And then we working on the kind of the Word environment, right? So bringing the product to the lawyers within Word. In terms of a demo, I think we are very open and transparent. You can see, perhaps I'm not even as good at explaining it without the product in front of me, because we've been very much this approach of like show, don't tell. So you can if you want to have a demo of the platform, more than happy to arrange that. And the key things that you can expect to see is how, for instance, how this technology is being applied to legal work, right, and how that differs from these generalist tools. And then again, it's like going into one of the key areas that we've seen a lot of success, and I think this has been a big focus for a lot of people, is within kind of like due diligence, right? I've just received, it's a Friday afternoon, I've just been given all these documents by a client and told I need to have this ready for Monday. I need to review all of this and provide a risk report. That type of work you can achieve in Leya, and that's where I think we showcase a lot of that that value. But I think also it's like showcasing real life use cases, right? This is how we've seen people use the tool. This is how we ourselves have used the tool. I mean, look, we often get like compliments on how quick we are turning certain things around in the context of our legal work. And it's like, yeah, well, we built a tool for this. We use our tool. So I think those are. It's like, yeah, showing the tangibles, right? What's a really measurable use of the platform? That's what you can kind of expect to see. And I think hands down the best UX I've ever seen in legal.
There we have it, folks. Very, very high praise and absolutely well deserved as well. Let's talk about ethics, because when you're having any of these sort of conversations, it's a really important conversation and consideration. So and it's not straightforward. So what are some of the ethical challenges Leya faces, particularly around sensitive data and client confidentiality, and how are you going about thinking about these?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to that kind of sort of client sensitivity, client data, etc., it's been foundational to Leya from the get go, right? Is we were founded out of Stockholm, and we've really focused, coming from Europe, where, as I say, like, you innovate in the US and you regulate in Europe. Having innovating in Europe within that regulated market, we've focused down on making sure that we have all the necessary exemptions, all the right kind of protection mechanisms in place to ensure that their clients can actually use the platform with a sense of security, and actually then to kind of trust that it's, for instance, we don't use any knowledge or anything to train language models or anything like that. Your knowledge is your knowledge. We can't even see what you are doing within your platform. We can see kind of a little bit of usage statistics, but we can't see the specifics of what you're doing. And I think that's a key element. And I often, when I get the kind of the question around, like, how do you guys handle this, and, like, is our DPO gonna kind of approve use of the platform? I always kind of give the example of the golden standard. If you've got law firms that are working with financial institutions, client data in Germany, you've probably got a pretty robust security around your platform. So I think that's where we've really put a lot of work into making sure that the platform's set up in the right way, and that those concerns and ultimately needs, expectations have been met.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love how sort of, thorough you have been with that, and also articulating that. So appreciate that. Okay, I want to, before we look to sort of wrap up, just ask a quick question around community and, events, because, you get yourself out there, you've built a big community, you go to a lot of events, you've got a good network. What would be some of your tips to people who probably are quite comfortable just being sat behind the desk and maybe don't network as much or get to these events? What would you say to those people, and maybe some top tips?
Start doing it. So I mean, it's the majority of the success that I've had in my career, and this is my entire career, has been based on the people that I've had the privilege of networking with, and building these relationships with. Right, you never know where business is going to come from, where the next piece of knowledge is going to come from, or insights is going to come from, and it's incredibly powerful when you've got a strong community around you. I've got, I think, some of the best people in my network, right? And it's just about working together, sharing ideas together, and ultimately, it's only together that we're actually going to create any meaningful change in the market. You're not going to do that individually. So I think community for me has been foundational. When it comes to networking and building a community, I think be yourself, be authentic, get out there. Like one of the things I used to do, like in my early 20s, was I used to do a lot of these business networking events. I used to make sure that I was always the first person to arrive, and I used to stand close to the entrance door. So when people came in, I would introduce myself. Hey, I'm Chris. Meet them, and then it was, oh, by the way, have you met this person? And then I would just become the introducer, and that allowed me to quickly meet and get to know everyone, and kind of remember names was a big thing for me. And I used to, like, certain people, I took genuine interest in what they did, and it's, I think, one of the most important things when it comes to a community and kind of building a network is put your own agenda aside. I've lived on this philosophy of giver's gain. Give of yourself unto others without expectation in return. And the world has this fantastic ability to kind of bring things full circle. It's like you might give of yourself to one person, and you never know where that's going to come back from. But I've got a big belief: if you put your own agenda aside and you focus on providing the best, most authentic you, and help people in the best way, it'll come full circle, and it'll be an amazing addition to your work life if you are spending your time just behind the desk.
Yeah, no, really well said. And just plus one to that. And yeah, a couple of things that come to my mind. I love that you gave that story of being at the front of the door, because then you become a connector, don't you? If you can introduce people to people, you start the relationship with a value add. And I always say the key with networking ideally is try and lead with value. And that's a great example of just doing that. And, we is greater than me. Reality is we are going to need to come together to try and, collaborate and create something meaningful. So I love that you talked to that.
I mean, another example I can give you is like, when I was a junior in my early 20s, I've been very lucky to connect with some people that are much more senior than me, that have become mentors and advisors to me in my career. And I took time, like in my early 20s, I used to go and learn as much as I could about that person before meeting them. And if I was going to events, and this is very old school, but I used to handwrite a letter to them about what I found interesting, what I would like to talk to them about, etc. When I used to meet them, instead of giving them a business card, I used to hand them a handwritten letter. And that was just like, it was a really personable touch that I think resonated really well with people.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? We want to keep that personal touch, that human-to-human connection within the world of work. And I think, again, that's a really great example. Chris, this has been fascinating. Really enjoyed learning more about your kind of career and also the great work you're doing with Leya and the plans for the future. And as you say, just sharing some of your tips when it comes to networking community there. So if our listeners want to learn more about your career or indeed Leya, where can they go to find out more? Feel free to shout out any website links or any social media handles. We'll also include them in this episode for you too.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm very active on LinkedIn, so probably one of the best places to reach out to me is on LinkedIn. It's you can just get me by my name, Chris Williams, but replace the L's with I's. If you want to get a better look at Leya, you can get onto our website, which is leya.law, and you can request a demo there, etc. And I think if you really are wanting to kind of learn about this, please feel free to reach out to me. I mean, I'm super open. If it's not something that you want, I'm also happy to just share insights. So I think it's if you want to reach out, best places are hit me up on LinkedIn, or please feel free to go visit our website. You can find some good information there, and please come see a demo. I'd love to show you the product.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, thanks so much, Chris. It's been an absolute blast having you on the show today. So from all of us on the Legal Speaking podcast sponsored by Clio, wishing you lots of continued success with your career and indeed future pursuits. But for now, from all of us, over and out.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you like the content here, why not check out our world-leading content and collaboration hub, the Legally Speaking Club, over on Discord. Go to our website, www.legallyspeakingpodcast.com, for the link to join our community there. Over and out.
Exciting news, listeners. We're pleased to announce another upcoming special mini-series, Legally on the Move, Careers, Tech and Insights from Dubai. In this exclusive series, we're taking the podcast to Dubai, a city that's redefining legal careers, leading in tech innovation and setting the stage for transformative global insights. Here's a sneak peek of what's coming your way. Career stories from top legal professionals thriving in Dubai's unique legal market, the latest on AI, blockchain and how legal tech is reshaping the future of law, thought-provoking conversations on diversity, leadership and building global connections, and here's the best part, we'll be recording in some of Dubai's most iconic locations, capturing not just the insights but some of the incredible energy of this vibrant city. So stay tuned and get ready for Legally on the Move. Trust us, you won't want to miss this journey. Over and out.